Alright, so unfortunately the weather is playing havoc with us still. So we're trying to squeeze in a bit more work between rain and snow. But right now we're working on finalising the, I don't know what you want to call it, the wheel well cover. And which also essentially becomes the inside wall for the big pull-out drawers. We've made all these little right angle brackets that you see out of thin aluminum, and basically I'm just drilling the amount of holes per piece as I think is fit, but suits for the size of the strip. This one here has 5 across, which means 10 screws all up, but I generally do an inch in from the end for each end screw, find the middle and then evenly divide it up. You know, we're not trying to make the most pretty van in the world, we're trying to make the functional van. Try to line your screws up, try to space them evenly, try to drill them nicely. You know, most of this stuff I'm doing here is actually going to be hidden out of view. And I'll lift this up and show you in a minute, but I don't have the Phillips screwdriver. We're just using 5/8 length screws, which is a bit over ½ an inch, but not quite 3/4. I probably could have done 3/4, but they didn't have them in the store at the time. And number 8 stainless steel washers. Next time I get screws, I'll probably go with the 3/4 length. I just want to make sure they don't go through the side, so as long as they can be without going through the side. And this is kind of a completed wheel well cover. Obviously this part here will be the part that covers the wheel well. This will be a potential storage area for our tripods and stuff that we're going to use for our photography. It's not a very big thing. Obviously this will be the top of the bed, and you'll see when we fit it in place, but just to show you what we've done here. And when it's sitting in place like this on the driver's side, this will be the inside support and inside of the big pull-out drawer slide for the Yeti cooler and other storage stuff. It's quite a big drawer. It's 33 inches wide by 48 inches long. And we've got big 500-pound sliders, drawer sliders that will go on here. But I'll get Miller to move position with the camera, and we'll just kind of show you as we put it in place. The nice thing about what we've done so far is technically right now, up until this stage, we haven't drilled a single hole in the van yet. We have not drilled a single hole in the van. And our philosophy is the less we can impact the van and structurally and rust proofing and drilling holes, the better for us. So right now we've kind of figuring out a way to nearly do this full pull-out drawer bed with just using existing holes or existing bolts, and then fabricating the rest of it to work around that fact that we don't want to drill any more holes than we have to. Alright, so we're fitting this piece in here. Just to give you an idea of what's going to happen. So you can see here, this is the top of the wheel well. This is going to be inside of this big drawer cabinet. This will be the top of the bed. And you can see that we had to do some fancy little cutouts at the end of that section to go around the hump of that middle support. And just so you can get some idea, I'll slide this drawer into place and you'll get an idea of what it is we're actually trying to make. It's a big drawer, so it's heavy. But there you can roughly see in position, and we'll take an angle from the back so you can see the whole idea here. Just going to be a piece of ply come across the back there. You can see how the bolt holes for the D shackles clear the whole design. There's going to be some finessing around the end cap there where the middle rail still has open holes and everything like that. But this will at least give you an idea of what we're trying to do. Alright, so what I'm doing right now is just deburring these holes that I just drilled in this aluminum strip, which is going to go across the back of this drawer slash bed support. And by deburring the edges, I just make sure that everything snugs down nice and tight. So this is just a piece of right angle aluminum that we've been using to construct the bed frame with. Now, one of the pluses of this current design that we didn't quite realize was going to happen when we started was we haven't actually drilled a single hole in the van and we won't be drilling a single hole in the van to have this whole bed drawer, pull-out drawer, kitchenette design installed. There will not be a single hole in the van. It's all self-supporting, and you're going to have to visualize all of it. So we've got these right angles that we drilled holes at consistent places, and they're actually holding these uprights in place, and they're right angles from in the corner here, and this is the floor panel. So we were going to show you, but we've been fighting bad weather, so whenever we had a good day, we've quickly got into action, and we kind of installed this and kept proceeding without taking the floor panel module out to show you on a video. So you're going to have to try to visualize what we've actually done. So there's a left and a right floor panel here. They meet in the middle at about 35¼ inches. We've created a wooden frame that Miller will try and show you in video following up, that covers the wheel hub, but it's not actually attached to the wall, it's attached to the floor. So if you can imagine that before we put this drawer in, we had this half panel here with the one wall and the cover for the wheel hub all attached together, performing this little left module, and then exactly the same on the right module. And you might be able to see that better in the video when she gets there, because there's no kitchenette pull-out drawer yet. So then once we did that yesterday, we slid both of them in place. So we had a left panel and we had a right panel, the two floor panels, and the wheel hubs all attached without any screws into the van. We used all different lengths of this right angle bracket that we created ourselves. They're inside the hub, they're outside, and I'll try and draw something on the paper or something just to show you. And then yesterday we decided to start trying to install this drawer, and of course this is a huge drawer. It's 48 inches deep by 33 inches wide, so it's quite a monster. And we had these big 500-pound drawer slides that we started installing yesterday, and of course as we kept proceeding, then we realized that, hey, we're not taking this back out to take video of the module. And so here we are. We've actually got the kitchenette installed. Sorry, not the kitchenette, the Yeti drawer, which is where the cooler is going to sit across the front here. So it'll come out and we can open the cooler for food and cold materials, we're just going to use ice and a Yeti cooler. It's been working great for us. The less we need to be dependent on power and whatever, the better to some degree. And it's actually fully installed and working, and even though I'm not a carpenter, we're a bit happy and surprised that it actually opens and closes as good as it does. It's quite smooth. These 500-pound slides really work. This is going to be a big storage area for our stuff, some of our stuff, and the Yeti drawer will go in the side. So what we're about to do is, this piece is actually for the panels that are going to go across the front. So like I said in an earlier video, maybe as individual components, none of this is exceptionally strong. I mean, I think it's, I build stuff to last, so this is going to last for as long as we want the van. So I feel confident that this is bulletproof and made with basic materials. It may not look like, you know, a BMW design or whatever, but it's going to be functional the way that me and my wife want it functional, and it's going to be done with fairly basic home tools. And so we're going to install the back panels now, and once we've installed the back panels, we're going to start looking at the design for the kitchenette. But the general idea of the kitchenette is it's going to pull out here and be able to come right out, and we'll have the little gas burner and little sink and whatever, and then when we put the bed top on, we'll create some other storage in here. But like I said, the good part about it right now is we've only used the existing D-ring bolt holes that are on either side of the wheel hub to hold this whole thing down. So once we put a couple of plates across the middle just to bond the two pieces of plywood, there's really only 4 bolts holding this whole thing in, and it's awesome. It can be removed by unscrewing a few of these, and if we wanted to, we could actually take the whole thing out in maybe half an hour to an hour. If there's heavy breathing, it's my dog and not me, okay? She's around and she thinks she's part of the show. 2 things you have to watch out for if you're going to use our design principle with the right angle aluminium in Australia. When you have the centerpiece here that's going to hold up both drawers, generally speaking, we've tried to drill all the holes in the aluminum the same, so that when you look at it, it looks aesthetically pleasing. There's the same distances between the holes and everything's the same. But 2 things you have to watch out for if you're using this design: when you have the 2 opposing pieces of aluminum right angle against each side of the same piece of plywood, make sure on one of the pieces you do actually drill the holes differently, so that when you go to screw it together, the heads of the screws aren't going to bump into each other from the opposing side, and then you're not going to get a good bite. So on one of these, 3 of these pieces, all the holes are exactly drilled the same, but on the one that was going to be opposing to this other piece of aluminum here, we actually offset all the screws by 1 inch. So in other words, there's a good 1/2 inch distance when the 2 screws are coming from the opposing side of the wood. Now that's also going to apply when you do the hinges. These are big, heavy MF hinges, and they use about 8, I think it is, about 8 number 10 3/4. We use stainless steel screw. It has to be number 10 countersunk, so that the drawer doesn't hit as it's sliding in and out. But again, the same principle is going to apply when you put your hinges in. You have to, this one's going to be up here for the Yeti, or it is up here for the Yeti, but when we do the kitchenette one, it'll be down about 2 inches lower than this one. So again, when the 2 screws go in the same place, they don't hit each other, and then you got no bite, you got no strength. So A, make sure you offset your holes if you're doing the aluminum where they're back to back. B, make sure you offset the holes for the hinges, like put the hinges at 2 different heights, separate the height by about 1 inch or 2, just to make sure you got clean wood to go into from both sides. We also ran into one other problem, and that's actually screw access when we were putting in the drawer slide. It's something that we didn't think of until we actually went to install the drawer slide. And essentially what the problem is when we go to put this drawer slide on, we have to hold the drawer in position, and we used a 1/2 inch spacer underneath. We just got some 1/2 inch spacer wood lifted off the floor while we started the front screws. And you can pull the drawer out to get access to the first half of the screws on both sides with no problem. You'll have plenty of room. But when you need to do the back half of the screws, you can't slide them out all that distance. And then what ends up being the problem is you only end up having 3 or 4 inches here of access. Now luckily I had a right angle drill, but even that ended up being really tight. There was only really one place that I could access to get all the rear screws screwed in, and if you see as we pull the drawer out, that little hole at the back there is the access hole for the screws, and you have to try and move the drawer a little bit each one and get the remaining 4 screws in. But like I said, it's very, very tight fit. We ended up using the right angle drill for some of them, and then we had to use a little socket and just hand install them because we just didn't have enough room to even fit the right angle drill. So just keep that in mind. We're going to have that same problem when we go to do the kitchenette drawer. It's just going to be tight to get anything in there to screw those screws in. And unfortunately that's not good. But we didn't realize it until we're actually trying to screw the screws in. And I'm not sure what I would have changed in hindsight, because I still want this design, so we just have to deal with the difficulty of getting the screws in the 2 outer sides of the van. Alright, so here you can see the aluminum strip that's going to be across the bottom. It's been the same on all 3 sides. Originally I was going to cut one long piece of wood to go across the back here, but to maximise our plywood or minimise our plywood wastage, I've actually decided to join it in the middle. It'll still give me the same strength. I mean, ideally it would have been better if it were one piece, but I just didn't want to go and buy another piece of plywood. So I'm joining it right in the middle of this piece of wood, and by the time the 2 right angle pieces are inside here, it's going to be awesome. So we're just about to screw that in now.